Hello everybody, welcome to the Brave the Wild YouTube channel. My name is Christopher, and today we are going to be doing a review on the Gerber Bushcraft Hatchet. Now there are two types that the Gerber released. I'm not sure when they released it, but there's the large axe, and this is the smaller version. This is the hatchet. If you want all the specs, my recommendation is to go onto the Gerber website. The one spec that I really wanted to know about was the type of high carbon steel that they were using for the axe head. Unfortunately, that is not listed. I'm not sure what it is. Could be 1055, could be 1065, could be something else. I don't even know if it's a stainless, but unfortunately they didn't list that. I might message them and find out. Regardless, let's get into the details of this axe, or this hatchet I should say. Now, the cover itself is really well made. There's a very solid plastic piece in the center, so you really don't have any concern about this blade coming through here. The way everything ties up is also very nice. There's a little loop here if you want to feed a rope through. There's a hang here if you want to put that onto a tree. But hey, whatever you do, make sure you don't lose it. Okay, talking about the axe itself, I'm sure you can see the specs. I'm not going to go into a lot of detail about it. I will say one thing, holding this in my hand, it is very heavy, which has benefits and it has downfalls as well. I have some slight wrist issues, so I've noticed in the past when I have used this axe, and I've used it once already, it starts to get pretty tiring. I find myself going from here right up to here to chop, or right around here, and wishing I had some more of that rubberized grip on there. That's basically it for how it holds, how it carries. Now let's get into the feature that I really like about this here, and here you go. I went ahead and put a miniature Bic lighter in there. As you can see, it's seated very nicely. I have chopped with the axe with everything in here. I don't notice any rattling, nothing that really bothers me. There's cord wrapped around here, which is neat. But to me, that's kind of a useless feature because I always carry cord with me anyways, and I would prefer, if it's going to be anywhere, maybe on the outside of the axe would be good enough for me. It's just cordage. It doesn't have to be in a water, sort of a semi-watertight container, which they say this is. As you can see, it's got a rubber seal here. I don't know how good a job it does, but who knows. What I might end up doing is just kind of cutting this piece off and maybe putting a ferro rod in there as a backup. Now, they do call this a bushcraft hatchet, but I don't know if that's entirely accurate. But nonetheless, I will say also, when you do get it, you will not find a sharpened edge on it. You'll have to do that yourself. Some people have an issue with that. Personally, I don't mind it. I think it's kind of neat. I just use the belt sander that I had, run on the belt sander for a few minutes, and I was done in a couple of minutes. Piece of cake. I figure if you can't really sharpen an axe, maybe you shouldn't be using it in the first place, but that's my opinion. Let's go ahead and do some chopping. We're going to start with this right here. Now, this is a relatively stationary piece of wood. This is spruce, so it is soft, and we're going to see what this does. I'm going to start with one hand, and then I'll probably have to transition to two hands. So let's go ahead in real time. If you guys want to fast forward this, you can always do that as well. Here we go. Oh, kind of gladed off there. So far with one hand, not too bad. It's pretty good to hold. It's got a very good grip. Whoop. As you can see, I'm starting to feel it now. It's getting a bit tougher. I'm gonna transition to two hands now, because this is some work. Whoa, there you go. Good example why you want to keep a nice wide stance. Okay. That's pretty much through. As you can see, I think you understand the limits of a hatchet, of course. Being so short, it is a lot of work, and I am out of breath. Now, I wouldn't recommend two hands because I found using two hands made my swing a lot less accurate. So this is where the weight of the hatchet really becomes nice, because you can just swing down, let the weight just kind of drive it down. You don't have to put a ton of effort into it, but as you can see, this isn't all that thick, but it was a lot of work. So this would be reserved for pieces of wood that I would say would be no bigger than this. I wouldn't attempt to fell a larger tree with this, of course, because that would just be ridiculous. Now, when I sharpened this, I had this sharp enough to cut the hairs on my arm. Let's conduct that test again. Okay. So yeah, I mean, we are, let's see. Yeah, this is butter knife sharp right now. This is butter knife sharp. As you can see, I'm running my thumb up and down this with a good amount of pressure. And this is very, very dull. So here's the thing. At the price point, I got this axe for $70 Canadian. I think you can pick it up in the US on the Gerber website for the same price. Is it worth 70? Maybe if you bring a sharpening stone with you, or even if you bring one of those pull-through sharpeners where you can at least get a micro bevel to keep you going to the rest of the bushcraft stuff, then perhaps this might be a decent hatchet. But for what I just did there and the time that it took, really, that was about maybe 3 to 4 minutes of chopping. And to have it be this dull already is pretty bad. So I would guess this to be probably like a 1055 steel. Now the nice thing about that is the softer the steel, the more resilient it can be. It's not gonna chip. It might roll if you're hitting something really hard or being stupid with it. But the nice thing about this, I guess really the only advantage of having a softer steel, is the fact that you can sharpen it pretty fast. So that's gonna be the next thing we're gonna do. We're gonna sharpen this up, go on to some smaller pieces, and I want to see if I can do some feather sticks with this, because if they call this a bushcraft axe or hatchet, I should be able to do some of the most common bushcraft things that you can do. Okay, we'll be right back. All right, welcome back, everybody. This is the next part to my review of the Gerber Bushcraft hatchet. My initial review isn't the best on this. I wasn't overly impressed, as the steel is pretty soft, but I'll tell you, I'm learning to work with it here. I'm learning to kind of fiddle around with it and get it to work for me, and I'm getting some pretty decent stuff. I like the way I can just kind of chop sticks and break them up in little pieces and I'm getting some decent feather curls here. So I'm going to keep trying, and let's just see what happens. All right, so again, choking it up quite a lot here. I'm wearing my gloves this time just to, I'm getting tired, so I just want to be safe. All right, here we go. So as you can see, if you just kind of let the weight of the axe do its thing, you can kind of get some decent feather curls out of it. That's really the best thing to do. It's really interesting because when I use my knife, I'm pushing pretty hard. I'm putting a lot more effort into it. But when I'm using this, I find that, like I said, just use the weight of the axe. It doesn't even, I'll be honest with you guys, this is not even really sharp right now. This is very, very dull. It got dull a long time ago because I've been cutting at wood and making my stool and all that stuff to sit on. And so this is actually shocking that I'm getting feather curls as good. This is better than I can get with some of my other knives. So I'm really quite surprised here. So yeah, that's it right there, you guys. That's the feather curls I'm getting. I'm sure there's professionals out there who can do a heck of a lot better, but you know what, that's not too bad. And again, if we look at the sharpness of this blade here, I'm going to put it against the skin. I mean, it's pretty dull. I'm not cutting any hair. So, you know, I honestly think if you want to make this hatchet work for you, that you can do it. There's a few compromises, but I mean, they're not huge compromises. I even found myself getting used to the chopping motion and learning to just use the sheer weight of the hatchet as opposed to feeling like I have to have a bit more control on some of my lighter hatchets that I own. So I think if you play with this and give it a chance, this could be a good tool. I will say again, as I stated before, this thing is tough as nails. I think if I made a sincere effort to try to break it, it would probably take a lot of work. Not that I would do that, because that's dumb, but it just goes to show, I mean, this is a strong hatchet. So if you don't mind the extra weight and you want something that's very strong, I actually do recommend this now. So yeah, I hope that helps you guys out to make a good, intelligent purchase. If you get it on sale, that's the best thing. Even if not, I'd say for 70, 80 bucks, this is worth it. All right, brave the wild, everybody. God bless.